Hi students, today we are going to discuss the next poem, chapter 8, The Patriot by Robert Browning. So first let us see something about the poet or about the poem. The Patriot is a dramatic monologue written by the renowned English poet and playwright Robert Browning. He is well known for his dramatic monologues and is widely celebrated as one of the foremost poets of the Victorian era. In this poem, Browning talks about politics, patriotism, religious faith, and the harsh reality of the leaders who are true in their sense of patriotism. It speaks about the sacrifice of such leaders who are misunderstood by the people. The speaker of the poem is a patriot. The poem is a monologue of this patriot speaker who narrates his tale to us as he has been taken to the scaffold to be executed publicly for his misdeeds. He tells us of his situation, how he was once well loved by everyone and how he is now despised by the same people. The patriot is an innocent of having done any misdeeds, and it is only out of the misunderstanding of the people that he is being put to death. His death sentence is for the wrong reason, and although he has tried to persuade the people to listen to him, it has done him no good. Now, let us go directly to the poem stanza wise. I will read the first stanza, then we will discuss it. It was roses all the way, with metal mixed in my path like a mad. The house roofs seemed to heave and sway. The church spires flamed, such flags they had a year ago on this very day. The poem starts with the patriotic describing an event, a grand public welcome that took place a year ago on that very same day. He is reminiscing the past and he builds a picture for us as he remembers that day. His walking path was covered with loads and loads of rose petals and with myrtle mixed in them. Myrtle is another kind of a flower. The path was festooned with these flowers for him. People standing on the roof of their houses cheered for him as he passed by. They were overjoyed to see him. The spires of the church pointed tapering roofs we generally see on the old cathedrals and similar buildings were covered with the flaming flags that the people had put up for a celebration. People were overwhelming, delighted to greet their hero and were enthusiastic to see him as he passed by. It is only logical to assume that this grand celebration must be as a result of some achievement on the speaker's part. Perhaps it was a victory in war or an assemblage of fighting one or winning a popular election to an office or being nominated as a ruler or maybe something else. It can be assumed at this point in the poem that it concerned the common people highly and they were happy on the occasion. The patriot is seen as a public hero in this stanza who is greeted with much love, affection by the commoners. Now let us move to the second stanza. The air broke into a mist with bells. The old walls are rocked with crowd and cries. Had I said, good folk, mere noise ripples, but give me your son from yonder skies, they had answered, and afterward what else? In the second stanza of the poem, the speaker continues narrating the old story from the same day a year ago. He describes the event to the readers. People were rejoicing by ringing bells, and the entire atmosphere was thick with its noise. They were standing on some kind of old structure and cheering for the patriot with their cries rocking the walls. Now the patriot says, had he asked the public for anything, even the dearest thing on which their sustenance depends, they would have readily given it to him. Such great was his image. They would then ask him what else he wanted. We can see the exuberance of the people at the sight of the poet. The poet is trying to establish the kind of popularity the speaker had through this stanza. Now let us see the third stanza. Alike it was I who leaped at the sun to give it my loving friends to keep. Not man could do have I left undone. And you see my harvest, what I reap, this very day, now a year is run. The third stanza of the poem is the speaker's discourse on what all he did for his country. It begins with the poet giving a subtle reference to the Greek old mythological tale of Icarus and Daedalus. Icarus was the son of a great inventor Daedalus, and the story revolves around the escape of these two men from a higher tower where they were held prisoners by making wings out of bird feathers and wax. Icarus, taken aback with the ability to fly, flies too close to sun, which causes the wax in his wings to melt and he eventually fall, which kills him. Just like Icarus, the speaker admits that he too was overly ambitious and leaped at the sun. Giving the sun his loving friends to keep may suggest that his action somehow caused the death of his close friends. Here again we can hypothesize that the Patriot is talking about some battle that claimed the lives of his dear ones. He did everything a man could have done to make things right. Despite this, he is facing his undeserved end. He calls to attention the miserable state he is in. The terms harvest and reap are closely seen as common metaphors of karma, and the poet uses this to convey that what he is facing is not what he truly deserves. He says it has been a year since that day. Here the poet ends the speaker's flashback. Now let us move to the fourth stanza. There nobody on the housetops now, just a palsied few at the windows set. For the best of the sight is all allow at the shambles gate, or better yet, by the very scaffold's foot I throw. The speaker returns to the present and talks about what he sees. He describes the present setting and in a way contrasts with the one on the same day a year ago. Now he has been convicted and is being led to the gallows to be put to death. As opposed to the setting in the first stanza, now the place is all empty. Now there is nobody on the rooftop cheering him. Only old men who are taken down by palsy, it's a disease, and unable to cross the threshold of their houses are watching the Patriot as he marches towards his death. The reason why no one is there to see the speakers is because the people have gathered at the shambles gate, the gate of the gallows, to see him die. Shambles gate is a place where normally people are guillotined or hanged. The people want to be where action is. The speaker further makes the heart-touching comment that the best sight is at the gate of slaughter's house, or at the very foot of the scaffold. Now stanza 5. I go in the rain and more than needs, a rope cuts both my wrists behind, and I think by the feel my forehead bleeds, for they fling whoever has a mind stones at me for my years' misdeeds. The fifth stanza is a continuation of the previous one and further describes the speaker's humiliation at the hands of the people. The poet starts with filling up the setting even more. Now people consider the Patriot as a traitor, just opposite what he was a year ago. It's raining as the speaker is walking towards the scaffold. His hands are tied behind by a tight rope, so tight that it cuts his wrist. He has now arrived closer to the Shambles gate where all the people are gathered. The patriot is in his own mind knowing the steadfast certainty of death ahead of him. As he is walking, he thinks he is bleeding from his forehead. He can now feel the trickling of blood. People throwing stones at him are causing these injuries. So stones have replaced the petals of rose. See, just the opposite, the contrast in the situation. He says that the people who are throwing stones are the ones who have an active mind and are aware of misdeeds. The speaker does not seem to be angry with these people for throwing stones at him. It suggests that despite the treatment he is receiving, he doesn't blame the people. He knows that they have misunderstood him. Now, let us go to the last stanza. Thus I entered and thus I go. In times people have dropped down dead, paid by the world what those thou owe me. God might question now instead. This God shall repay, I am safer so. The last stanza of the poem reflects the patriot's death. It is full of philosophical and religious ideas. Thus I entered and thus I go. His entry and exit from life, position, and people's mind in the presence of so many others sums up the speaker's life well. He says that in his times people have dropped down dead. This suggests that he looks at his predicament as a triumph. He believes that he stood by the right things and thus considers himself victorious in defeat. The final three lines of the stanza deal with the ideas of the speaker. Yet again we see Browning's stout religious belief. He believes that God might say, your sins were already washed away when you died. The people saw to it. They punished you. What now do you expect from me? You are now free of all corruption. Thus, the patriot thinks that the punishment he got in the mortal world has purged him, and that he hopes to go to heaven instead of hell. He feels safer knowing that God knows he stood for what he thought was right, and thus he will be safe under him. As a conclusive note, we must remember that it is not possible to establish the gullibility or innocence of the patriot in the poem. On one hand, we see the speaker himself admitting that he did some misdeeds. On the other hand, we see him as a patriot who is mistaken. At least the little suggests that. It might be so that he is guilty of some things he did which he thought were right. It might even be so that he is truly innocent and is simply put to death because people wish so. However, the poem ends on a note of optimism with Browning's own philosophy. God is in heaven. God in heaven and all rights with the world. The patriot believes that it is God who will reward him according to his true merit. So this is the meaning of the poem, complete stanza wise we have explained. Now let us see what are the main themes the poet mentioned or explained in this. The themes are, one is the public's fickleness, the changing mentality of the people. See, that is what we discussed in the beginning itself. First, the people praise, the people support the patriot, but just after 1 year might be for a single mistake, or it can be said as a misunderstanding of the people change. They forget about all the things what he have done. Only for one mistake, they consider him as a traitor. But they punish him. That is called the public fickleness, the changing mentality of the people. Second, rise and fall of glory. The glory, the popularity, the fame what we get from a society. It may stand for a short period of time. It can end within no time. So that is the second main theme that is discussed in the poem, that is rise and fall of glory. And the last stanza again the poet speaks about another theme, that is faith in God. He speaks in the last stanza that I have done a mistake and I am punished. I was punished here in the earth itself. So I am going to God. So God won't punish me again, because already what punishment I needed, I got it. So he may even say to us directly or indirectly, he said to us that he did not do any mistakes. What was needed for his friends, he did it something. But for the people, it was a mistake. But at the time he was the friends were in a need to do some help from him. But for the society it was wrong. But that doesn't matter to him. Anyway, he helped someone. And that help might have misunderstood by the people. So again, but he hopes that God will not punish him. God will understand me. God can understand, because God knows what really happened. So these are the main themes that is discussed in the poem. One is, again I am repeating it, one is the public fickleness, the changing mentality of the people as the time goes. Second one, rise and fall of glory. Third one, faith in God. So this is about the poem The Patriot. So you can again and again I am saying, as it is a homework, complete your workbooks, read the poem, and explanation is given there in the workbook. You can read it. If there is any doubt regarding this, you can comment. Thank you.